So first, we're going to download the data. We're going to open it in Excel. We're going to save the data. Then first, we're going to use the text to column. Next, we're going to make a scatter plot from this data. Insert, and then scatter plot. Right click, select the data. Okay. And here's the scatter plot. You can also add a trend line here and maybe the axis title, for example, advertising spend. Here's the monthly revenue. And we can also add the title, for example, relationship between advertising spend and monthly revenue. And we also need to make a data analysis, which is a regression. For the Y, it's going to be monthly revenue. And for the X, it's going to be advertising spend. And here's the result. And we're going to do it again, but only with 10 dataset. So here's the result. And we're going to highlight several of this data. For example, the R square, the standard error, the observation, the intercept, then the slope. We're gonna do it on the we're gonna do it on this one too. And we're gonna compare these two. For example, when we use 12 data set, the observation obviously going to tell us 12, which is means that we use 12 sample, and in this one we only use 10. Here I use the R square, which is a statistical measure and regression model that tells us how well the independent variable, for example, in this case is the advertising span, explain the variation in dependent variable. In this case is the monthly revenue. And we can see here when we use 12 dataset, comparing it with 10 dataset, we have higher R square comparing it with the 10, which is 0.3, and comparing it with 0.21, which just mean that this regression is more reliable and it shows higher correlation. And also I use the standard error, which is measuring the typical distance between the data point and regression line. It tells us how well the model fits the data. And we can see here at the 10 sample sets, it has higher standard error comparing it with the first one, which means that um, when we use 10 sample, it give us higher distance between the data point and the regression line we make. And the last two is the intercept. and the slope. For example, here when we use 12 data set, the intercept is 8,392, which is the y value when the x is equal to 0. And then the slope is 2.01. And when we use 10 data set, the intercept is quite higher, which is 8,625. And the slope is relatively lower, comparing it with the 12 data set, which is at 10 data sets, it's only 1.69. And lastly, we're going to make the PDF. I'm going to copy and paste this graph. And because these two shows the same output as these two, so I'm going to only copy this, leaving these two behind. And then I'm going to adjust it. And here's the result that we're going to use as a PDF. Here's the result.